there's a much greater impact because things build upon itself, and you may not see the growth, at first, but eventually you'll see the growth and what it means for you to do this step later. But the small seeds that you put in at the beginning probably means much more than, you putting the same seeds in later in the period in which you're planting seeds. You working hard between, 16 to 22, for example, is going to mean a hell of a lot more than you working hard at 42 to 47. Hello everyone, this is Elijah from the Black Apprentice Network, and I'm making this video to tell you to lock in. It's nearly coming up to the academic year. This is a message out to all the, people that are going into year 13 and are going to do, their A level is going to be applying to personal statement. Doing their personal statement is going to be also applying to apprenticeships. You have to lock in. I think year 13 is one of those like transitional periods where it could have a massive impact on what you do later in life. Those A-level grades, I think it's just integral that you get those right, because those are the things that are going to, make a difference for you when you get to the next step of your career, whether that's going to, one of the best universities in the country, whether that's getting into one of the best apprenticeship programs in the country. It makes a massive impact. So you need to lock in for year 13. You need to lock in your routines. You need to get organized. You need to, use that different planner. You need to make sure that you work hard during this period to make sure that you can set up the next couple of years of your life in a better way. There's this concept called, compound interest, right? And I think the thing I love about compound interest is that even though it may not seem like it at the beginning, but the small seeds that you put in at the beginning probably means much more than, you putting the same seeds in later in the period in which you're planting seeds. And the reason for that is that there's a much greater impact because things build upon itself, and you may not see the growth, at first, but eventually you'll see the growth and what it means for you to do this step later. So when you're building habits of discipline, when you're building that habits of hard work, when you're building that habit of kind of making sure that you study for certain things and honing in your learning methods, it makes a huge impact because you're going to take some of those habits in later in life, or you're going to build upon those habits to make sure that you have a better life later. So make sure you lock in. Also, in terms of apprenticeship applications, for example, if that dream company that you have, you missed their, psychometric test, you missed out on potentially getting into a company that would have made a massive impact early in your career, and getting into that company would have been easier for you to get to the next role within that company, the next role. So make sure you lock in that period. Again, in terms of the university, if you don't lock in and make sure that you, complete that personal statement to the proper standard it's supposed to be, or you didn't lock in on your A levels to make sure you get the grade to get to the best university that you want to get into, it has a adverse impact in your life, because you're not going to be able to, for example, be surrounded by a certain group of friends. It may mean that you're not able to access certain internships. It may mean you're not able to access certain things, because there's certain top universities where they'll literally go onto campus and try and recruit certain types of talent. And if you're not in that sort of university, it can be harder for you to get a role. There's certain universities where when you apply for things like placement years, it's just easier for you to get in these roles. So definitely make sure you lock in. Definitely make sure you get the best grades that you can. If you want to make sure you get into one of the best apprenticeship programs in the country, make sure you're putting your best foot forward in the application process. Again, in terms of your dream company, if you wake up on the wrong side of bed for an assessment center and you don't do well in it, you've missed out a chance to get into the proper apprenticeship program that would have set you up for the rest of your career. And things are not guaranteed. Even if you get a gap year the next year, you may not, pass that stage. And now you may have missed the opportunity to get into one of the, the best company for the situation that you're in. So make sure you lock in. Do not underestimate the importance of this period. I think there's a lot of people that try to discount the advantages of working hard when you're young, and try to discount the valuable time that you have now to kind of build a platform for you later. All you can control is your effort. So make sure you look in at this point in time, because, you working hard between, 16 to 22, for example, is going to mean a hell of a lot more than you working hard at 42 to 47. And the reason for that is that later, there's much more time for you to kind of take advantage of the work that you've done beforehand and the effects of the work that you've done at 16, 17, 18. So make sure you lock in. Had to make this video, had to inform you of this message. Lock in. If you want help locking in, or you want to have exposure to different opportunities that may be available as you're locking in, definitely check out Black Apprentice Network. Definitely check out Black Undergrad. There'll be some more information in the description. If you don't join, you're not locking in. And, it's been Elijah, co-founder of those different community groups. And again, lock in.